States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk, can you say it, please?
Public comments?
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, public comment will be limited to no more than 30 minutes. Each individual will have up to 3 minutes per person, and there will be no designation of time. If you plan to speak on the legislative public hearing item tonight, I ask for you to wait on that item. Any comments must be directed to me as the mayor or chair of this governing body. This is not a time for question and answers. Your comments need to be specific to the matter relevant to the voting authority of the city of Gwinnett City. I may provide brief factual responses as applicable, and our team members will be prepared to follow up on comments at a later date as applicable. I ask that everyone conduct themselves with appropriate courtesy and respect. These procedures are consistent with Robert's Rules of Order and the operation of other governmental agencies. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a public meeting. Please address the commissioner at this time. Name and address for the record.
Allie, 411 Kipling. Good morning.
I'm sorry, I didn't get your name.
Allie.
Alan?
Yeah. Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. My name is Allie. I'm a homeowner and I'm a resident of Walden Lake. Over the past several weeks, residents have learned that detailed redevelopment plans for the former Walden Lake Golf Course have already been prepared. On site plan that is dated June 18, 2026, and a revised plan development site plan is dated July 7, 2026. Those plans propose approximately 340 residential units along with new
I'm
roads.
gonna have to interrupt you right there because
Quasi-judicial manner of zoning, so really they can't.
Can I skip that part and just ask one simple question? How can we be talking about building hundreds of new homes when we haven't fully addressed the flooding that the current residents experience?
I'm sorry, just from a procedural matter, okay? I'm going to defer again to our city attorney so he can explain the process about how this is going to work and why we can't have this conversation.
There is a proposed plan that is being proposed for the development, what was the former golf course. That matter is going to be referred to the planning board before it ever comes to city commission. But there will be a hearing before the planning board, and there'll be a hearing before the city commission. But those are quasi-judicial hearings or zoning, so they can't communicate, or really everything has to be on the record. So there's really needs to be deferred to the public hearing.
So the way that you have to think about this, be thought of, this is, and the quasi-judicial public hearings have to be thought of as though we're in a courtroom. Okay? So we do not communicate and the commissioners, we do not communicate with developers, we don't communicate with staff, we don't communicate amongst ourselves. We have to make a ruling as though we're wearing a judge's hat on a rezoning based on the evidence that's presented at that hearing. So we're not able to discuss anything that's related to a rezoning before it comes before that particular meeting.
I understand that. I wasn't talking about the zoning. I was going to share our neighborhood experience during Hurricane Milton.
And that needs to wait until that meeting occurs. So the process will be, as it goes through our planning and zoning department.
So the deal's already been done is what you're trying to tell me?
No, what I'm telling you is the process. The process is that it goes through our planning and zoning department, and then it comes to our planning board, and then it comes to the city commission.
That's backwards. When you haven't had any floodplain surveys done, when you don't know where the watershed is going, and you're talking about rezoning,
Part of the process.
we all flooded.
Okay,
And you
understand that.
don't,
We're not having that discussion tonight, okay? Discussion's over.
all right.
Thank you. Come back at the appropriate, listen, I want to make sure that everybody understands that this is
We're aware
important.
of what you guys are
This
doing
is-
behind closed doors.
This is important to us. This is not happening behind closed doors. I appreciate their concern. Okay, I want everybody to take a deep breath. I want to make sure you understand that this is important to all of us, okay? But we do have an important process that we have to follow, and that's what I'm trying to explain this evening. So I do want to hear from you. We want to hear from you, but it has to be at the appropriate time. That appropriate time would be when it comes before the planning board first, and then back to this commission meeting. This is premature for the discussion. That's what I'm saying.
Premature.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. But thank you for coming to share your.
I don't think it's premature when there are plans in the building permit process, but that's okay.
Thank you. This is. Good evening, welcome.
Sorry, Joanna McGrath, MAGRATH, 8 years reported on. public comment. First Amendment, all my opinion. Going up around Plant City is a geofencing parameter, according to Fourth Amendment. We have laws. How this all came about is heavily researched. All I'm asking as the commission to put a hold on them. Tons of information are coming out, because I'm also involved with the FWC on how my name is being pulled. I'm just an activist trying to look out for what's best for Florida. We have China chemicals, but I digress. I'm trying to stay on track here. There was a camera taken down off of the Notice at Chick-fil-A and Mr. and Mrs. Crab, I think is what it's called. Okay, and I saw the officer out there. We're just traveling down the road, and I would have never seen it, but he's looking at this dead camera on the road, and there's 49 of them. You can't go in and out of Plant City without being tracked, LPMs. So what I'm here to share with all of you is there is a YouTuber called Monkeyverse, Monkey and then WERX. He has been working on this for 3 to 7 years. I don't remember how long. You have Palantir, Palantir, and that's Peter T. Why did he flee the United States? Okay, the last thing to go into this beast system are flock cameras. They track everything. So I'm here just to make everybody aware that we are playing into that. And is that what you want for your family, the family of Plant City, everybody? It feeds right in. That whoever sits in that position, the Palantir position, you need to watch Monkeyverse video and see how much power that person is really have. And once everything's connected, because the last thing to go in is, and it's just not flock, there's tons of these automatic license plate readers that are going to feed into this system. So do you want Plant City part of the beast system, or do we want to work on another level and maybe even just create our own so-called flock system? I mean, my FWC has David. You know, I mean, it's very powerful, and everybody shares all the information back and forth. Now, once that's connected with Palantir, we're done. So I'm here as a servant to share.
Welcome back.
Danielle Kimbrell, 1215 West Risk Street. This is one of the surveys that I had mentioned in the past. Can be found at HCC on Cherry Street, permanent sign there. You can see City of Plant City. This is an official survey. The journey starts here. This is one of the many headwaters that contributes to the Tampa Bay watershed. The water in the seasonal wetlands flows through, beneath, and into the following locations on this journey. I was recently at a Pasco County meeting against Two Rivers Development. They are tearing up the Hillsborough River, and that's just one of the many spots on this list of where our water flows. My home, when I first moved there, was never a flood zone. Blocks away, yes, they have a sinkhole. They knew when they purchased a home it was a flood zone. Through the years, systematically, this city has changed the zoning in a known floodplain to allow for homes. And as you have said, you've taken advantage of every industrial opportunity, development opportunity. I just went to the Hillsborough County Forum that was at the cafeteria. I am now past a flood zone, past a 100-year floodplain, and we are now a 500-year floodplain. That's more water, more frequently. I was recently suggested by the developers at Rowena Mays to contact you once again about the water that comes across the street and into our home. I have sent pictures in the past. I've talked to the head of engineering. I've sent videos, and the water continues to flow. It's going to continue to flow because in Florida, and that's just, the water flows. And I'm recommending an immediate moratorium until your studies catch up to what's actually happening in our city. Because the more people that I talk to, the more people are leaving. So another one of my neighbors, they're leaving on Wednesday because they're not going to put in any more money into the city. So, thank you again for your time.
Ladies and gentlemen, please address the commission at this time. This is a public meeting. Non-public comment is closed. Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Consent agenda.
Anybody would like to have anything removed for further consideration? What's the pleasure of the commission?
Move for approval of the consent agenda.
We have a motion from Vice Mayor Jones, a second from Commissioner Mathis. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, please place your votes.
Yes.
Passes 5-0. Madam Clerk?
Reports of officers, boards, and committees.
City Manager.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. A couple of action items on the city manager's report tonight. The first one is a resolution authorizing the city manager to advise the property appraiser of the city's proposed millage rate, of its rollback rate, and the date, time, and place at which a public hearing will be held to consider the proposed millage rate and tentative budget. To provide us an overview on these matters, we have our Finance Director, Jen Forsberg.
Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Commissioners. I'm Jen Forsberg, Finance Director for the city. Tonight's presentation is the first step in the fiscal year 26-27 budget process and focuses on the proposed millage rate. The city is required to notify the property appraiser of its proposed millage rate, the rural WAC rate, and set the dates, time, and location for the tentative budget hearings before August 4th, 2026. The recommended action tonight will ensure the city meets this deadline. There is no proposed increase in the city's ad valorem millage rate, which will remain at 5.7157 mils. In addition, 1 mil will remain dedicated to the street improvements, resurfacing, and maintenance. Citywide property values increased by 9.3%, roughly $843 million over the prior year. Of that increase, $420 million, or 87% of the increase, is due to new construction values. So the majority of the city's increase in property tax for the proposed budget for next year is due to new construction increases, not increases on existing properties. The total taxable property values within the CRA increased $25 million, or 6% over the prior year. So this is just a picture of the 1 mil dedicated to the street improvements. It's almost $5.4 million for next year. And that's an increase of $460,000 over the prior year. These funds will continue to be used to improve and maintain 167 centerline miles of paved streets, nearly 2 miles of dirt roads within the city, and the specific projects for next fiscal year will be discussed at the budget workshop. Here's the 5-year history of the overall property tax values over the last 5 years. The new increase of 9.3% will generate roughly $2.6 million of new revenue in ad valorem taxes, compared to, excuse me, the overall increase due to new construction over the last 5 years. Again, as noted, 87% of the increase, or $2.3 million of next year's increase, is due to new construction. If we compare our proposed rate to the prior year rates for the other cities in our area, you'll see that we are higher than only 2, which is the unincorporated Hillsborough County and City of Lakeland. And the only difference from last year is that the City of Lakeland's city, school tax decreased a little bit, so that's what put them below our city. Here's a graph of that. To recap, the proposed millage rate is staying the same at 5.7157. The rolled back rate is 5.6379. To adopt the proposed rate of 5.7157, it will require a 2/3 majority vote of the commission. One item to note is that once the city informs the county property assessor of the proposed rate, it can't go up at the tax hearings, it can only go down. So the recommended action is that the city commission adopt a resolution notifying the property appraiser of the proposed millage rate of 5.7157, announce the rollback rate of 5.6379, and set the date, time, and place for the proposed millage and tentative budget hearings. And I stand for any questions.
Questions or comments from Mr. Rupert? No, I'd just say that, appreciate the information here, and again, this is a transmittal. I do want to let everybody know that we will be having a budget workshop on August 24th at 3:30 here in these chambers as part of our budget process. And then we have another hearing, the first meeting in September, and then the final budget hearing, the second meeting in September. So if you want to participate in those discussions, make sure you come to those meetings. Of course, we're challenged right now, not knowing what's going to happen with our property tax referendum, but I think it's important for us to do the transmittal this evening. And do want to reinforce a couple of things that were mentioned. While we are a little bit higher than other jurisdictions, just remember what Ms. Forsberg said, that 1 mil of that, so if we took that off, we'd be at 4.7. With the 5.7, 1 mil of that goes directly to resurfacing our roads and taking care of some of our streets and sidewalks. And in that time period, over the past 8 to 9 years, we resurfaced approximately, what, 70% of the roads, sir? Okay, so we've taken care, if you see potholes in Plant City, it's more than likely that it's not a Plant City-owned street, is what I'm saying. So I just want to make sure people understand what you're getting for those dollars that people are spending in Plant City. So if there's no other questions or comments, then I'll ask for the pleasure. Motion from Commissioner Kirk. Second from Commissioner Haney. Any discussion on this item? Please place your votes. Passes 5-0. Mr. Sirianni.
Our next item is a resolution authorizing the city manager to purchase a modular, multi-use 4x4 emergency response vehicle under a Florida Sheriff's Cooperative Purchasing Contract. Before we start with the presentation, I want to give the commission a little background on this. After Hurricane Milton and the experiences that we had with the flooding in various areas of our city and having to respond to that really on the fly, we determined that we needed to improve our capabilities to respond in a water-related incident or emergency. The commission will be aware that we spent time pursuing federal grants. We had asked for federal funding to obtain what's called a SHERP. It's a dedicated water rescue vehicle, and we actually saw one of those used during Milton when we had to evacuate the Holiday Inn Express on Park Road. The sheriff's office brought one over, and it was a very functional rescue vehicle. So we pursued that for a while. We were not successful in obtaining those grant funds. Since then, we've been researching alternatives. We've looked at a number of options, including purchasing a SHERP ourselves. They're rather expensive, and after evaluating it with both the police and fire chief, we determined that to spend that kind of money on a vehicle that really had a single use and would probably sit idle most of the time was not the most prudent way to go. We looked at a couple of other vehicles that were high water rescue capable, very expensive, and then we settled on the vehicle you're about to see tonight. This one's actually multi-purpose, which has appealed to me greatly. We can invest in this vehicle. It is significantly less cost than if we purchased a SHERP or one of the alternative vehicles. And what makes this one so appealing is that by day, 364 days out of the year, is a brush truck. It can be used by a fire department to respond to a brush fire or something off road, or they can use it in their fire responses in general. But when we need a high water rescue vehicle, within a matter of a few hours, they can convert this thing to a rescue vehicle with a platform on the back that allows us to go into up to 30 inches of water, get people onto the back of this vehicle and get them out of the water. It also comes with a lift gate that if we're dealing with someone in a wheelchair or otherwise that are mobility limited, they can be lifted onto the vehicle and gotten out of the water. So for the lower investment, we get a dual purpose vehicle. And I think that this really suits the strategy that we have been on since Milton to make sure that we have the right capabilities at our disposal for whatever eventuality may develop that our public safety departments need to deal with. So with that background, provide some details on this particular vehicle is our fire chief, David Denton.
Public Chief.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, City Manager. Yes, so the City Manager explained it very well. Do you have any questions? So yeah, we're looking to pursue this high water vehicle. It's going to be a multi-use vehicle. Actually, this is a great picture of an AI rendition, but very similar to the current brush truck we have now. That interchangeable platform, and that lift gate on the back is for the wheelchairs or people that cannot climb that high to get in the back seat of this particular vehicle. The reason for request has been mentioned. Will enhance our emergency preparedness and make an investment in a versatile, adaptable emergency response vehicle that will enhance our ability to just save lives and protect the citizens and property of Plant City. As you can see, there's many pictures of brush fire use. There'll be flood usage, as well as we can actually use that as a flatbed truck to haul equipment with if we need to as well. The community impact, it will serve as a brush truck for most of the distance until we need to convert to a high water vehicle. 49% of our Plant City area is still undeveloped land. Also noting that June of this year was the 4th driest June in 132 years, so this type of action could warrant more than one brush truck in our fleet to help us reduce not only the mutual aid concept of bringing those people in, but also to be able to extinguish those fires at a rapid pace. Then we can also convert to a high rescue response vehicle. This will go into 30 inches of standing water, so we can crawl through 30 inches of standing water. Anything past that, we'll probably flip some type of boat or another vessel to retrieve those victims from those areas, get them to high ground, and then respond also back to brush fires virtually the very next instance when this vehicle is out of service from that. It is basically 6 bolts on the frame. 6 bolts come out, lifts up with a forklift, put the next one down, 6 bolts, and it's converted, so it's very rapid pace. So we won't need much time to conversion. That's what the schematics look like. You can see the flat modular platform. The delivery time frame is typically 8 to 12 months, depending on the chassis from the date that the door is placed. If we do it within a relatively quick amount of time now, we'll have it in time for our next hurricane season of 2027, which will fully be equipped and operational and enhance our capabilities to deliver service in the city of Plant City. So our recommendation is that the City Commission authorize the City Manager to execute a purchase for a hybrid modular emergency response vehicle from Warrior Trucks via piggyback of the Florida Sheriff's Cooperative Purchasing Contract, FSA 25-BEF 19.0, in the amount of $250,386. And then authorizing another $15,000 to outfit the vehicle with the lights, the graphics, and the equipment that needs to go on it. Funding for this purchase is available in the general fund, 151-901-49500 contingency. And that concludes the presentation. I'd be glad to stand for any questions. City Manager did explain it very well, so there's really no need to bother with it.
Questions or comments? Just a quick question. Is there an anticipated service life for a vehicle?
15, 20 years. That's what we get from Warriors.
Pretty robust.
It is, maintenance, take care of it, 15, 20 years, they'll last quite a long time. So that'll give us 2 quality vehicles in the fleet.
And just to put this cost in perspective, the single-use vehicle would have run in the neighborhood of
around 400,000.
I want to make a comment. First of all, I like how the city manager said this is a multi-use vehicle. It can be used for many things in our city. And you talked about the conversion, how you can convert it from one thing to another. My thing is, if it's approved, then, you make sure that when it comes in, you can bring it up here, so our citizens
Sure.
can view it.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Mr. City Manager, if you would, we do have another, vehicle, Bearcat, that's in our fleet for our police department. Would you just comment on how this complements the Bearcat and also how our Bearcat has actually impacted the lives of our citizens since we've purchased that vehicle?
Sure. Bearcat is another specialty vehicle in our inventory, and that one happens to be in the police department. The Bearcat primarily serves a tactical role. It can be used during high-risk warrant service, any other tactical situation. Let's say we had an armed subject, we had an active shooter. Bearcat is the appropriate vehicle bringing onto a scene like that. But one of the things about the Bearcat is the versatility that it has, and I think that was best demonstrated about 3 years ago during one of our very strong hurricanes that came through the city. I happened to be in the EOC that night and actually was there when the Bearcat was brought into service twice that night. The first time it was dispatched out into the storm to pick up and transport a pregnant woman who had gone into labor. There was no other way to get her to the hospital, so because of the type of vehicle that the Bearcat is, its weight, configuration, and the fact that it does sit up higher, they were able to go out into the storm and pick her up and transport her to the hospital, and that story had a happy ending. It was within a couple of hours that same night that another medical emergency call came out where an older female had fallen in her home and actually suffered a very significant head injury. There was no way to get to her other than with the Bearcat, so it was dispatched again on a medical emergency, was able to get into that situation, pick that lady up and get her to the hospital and get her the care she needed. So that's a great example to me of the versatility and flexibility of these specialty vehicles that we get. It all dovetails back in my mind to why pursuing this Warrior hybrid brush truck, high water rescue vehicle is such a good way to go about doing this for our community. We are getting tremendous capabilities. And I can tell you now, the nature of public safety and the business that they do, we don't know what they're going to use it for next. When the Bearcat was purchased, I'm sure hurricane medical emergency transport was not on the list of points that were made to the commission to justify that vehicle. But yet it proved to be amazingly capable and very important to at least two of our citizens' very lives that night, because there was no other way to get to them. That's just some of the value of the Bearcat brings.
The reason I asked the question is making sure that we're not duplicating resources, but just adding to what we need to support our community, to support our first responders. Makes brilliant sense to me. Obviously, we appreciate HCSO, our other state resources, our national resources that came to bear during Hurricane Milton. There were people from all over the country, from Austin and San Antonio, that were in Plain City doing rescues that time. But the more that we can add to support our folks, the more important. We just wanted to make sure everybody understood the importance of our existing fleet and the importance of adding this versatile fleet to the system. So, any other questions or comments?
Mr. Mayor, before we vote, I will be abstaining. The vendor chemical containers is one of my tenants, so I'm going to abstain tonight.
Okay. So we do have an opportunity to take 322 and 338 together. Do we have a motion to that effect?
Move approval of 322 and, sorry, 388.
338.
338.
We have a motion from from Commissioner Haney and a second from Commissioner Mathis. Is there any further discussion?
4-0, one abstention. Thank you, sir. City manager.
In my written city manager's report, you'll find a staff recognition for streets and stormwater. And also attached tonight is the social media report for last month. In the interest of time, I will not go into depth on those, but they are available there for your review. That concludes my report, and I am available for any questions.
Questions or comments for city manager? Council? Madam Clerk?
Due to recent resignations of our Board of Adjustment and Code Enforcement Board members, Board of Adjustment, Judy Vogel, Code Enforcement Board member, we need to fill the unexpired terms of their respective positions. We advertised the positions for Board of Adjustment, only 2 applications received from Raymond Williams and Linda Salvato, and already provided you copies of the applications for review and consideration. I have a resolution available if you'd like to move forward with appointing either both or one of those members, or we can continue advertising.
It's a pleasure of the commission regarding the Board of Adjustments. We have 1 or 2 for Board of Adjustment.
There's 2 for the Board of Adjustments.
Okay. So we have a motion from Commissioner Mathis,
I'll second that motion.
second from Vice Mayor Jones. Any further discussion? Please place your votes.
This is, oh, I'm sorry about that. That's right, I'm giving you the alternates for the code enforcement, yes.
We just need one for the Board of Adjustment.
Yes, so we need
Okay,
to, cancel that, and we need to appoint either Raymond Williams or Linda Salvato to the vacancy.
What's the pleasure of the commission and the Board of Adjustment, Raymond Williams or Linda Salvato? Any motion?
I will go ahead and make a motion. Before I do, I want to add 2 great resumes. I said this last meeting, we had a lot of great resumes come in. Both of these have wished to serve their communities. They say they love Plant City. I love when they say that. They want to give back to their community they love. So both of them, 2 fantastic resumes and great reasons for wanting to serve on this committee. I will make a motion to appoint Linda Salvato to the Board of Adjustment.
A motion from Vice Mayor Jones. Is there a second?
I would second that motion.
Second from Commissioner Mathis. Is there any discussion?
The only thing I'd like to add real quick is, remember, there's more committees, so if you're here and you're not appointed tonight, put in your application again, because we have a lot of great committees here in Plant City. And again, these are 2 great applications.
This is a voice vote.
Voice vote.
All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, like sign? Motion carries 5-0.
Okay.
Madam Clerk.
We have a full member vacancy, and at the moment, we have a full, for the code enforcement, we have a full member vacancy and a second alternate vacancy. That were advertised for a period of 30 days. Actually, several things been advertised for longer, and resulting in 2 applications that were received. One from Christopher Fletcher and one from Alma Martinez. Okay, based on past practice, the current vacancy is the full member vacancy. Usually what we do is we appoint the first alternate, at the moment is Maurice Wilson, to fill the unexpired term of Mr. Rencher's term, which he's the full member, which expires on April 1st of 2028. Historically, the full member vacancy occurs, first alternate will, he usually gets appointed to that. Now, that's up to you if you want to do that or not, but that's the first hurdle there. So if you want to do that, or you have a choice of appointing one of the 2 people that did advertise, did apply Mr. Wilson to the full, that will be, that'll open up 2 vacancies, first alternate and then the second alternate position. See what I'm saying?
All right, so Commission, let's do this first. Let's take up the opportunity to fill the empty seat, so that opportunity comes from the existing first alternate, Maurice Wilson, or that could come from one of the other 2 applicants, Alma Martinez or Christopher Fletcher. So what's the pleasure of the Commission on filling the existing seat? Is it coming from our first alternate, Mr. Wilson, or from one of the other applicants?
Has Mr. Wilson expressed interest in moving into the
Yes.
position?
It's the pleasure of the Commission on filling the empty seat.
I'll make a motion to approve Maurice Wilson to move up from his current position to the full position.
I'll second that motion.
Have a motion from Commissioner Nappus for Maurice Wilson to fill the empty seat. The second from Vice Mayor Jones. Is there any further discussion on that appointment? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Carries 5-0. Now let's take up the seat for the first alternate. Would that be Alma Martinez or Christopher Fletcher?
I'll make a motion to appoint Alma Martinez to the first alternate, and you want to do both in one motion?
That's fine.
And Christopher Fletcher to the second alternate.
Okay, we have a motion from Vice Mayor Jones for Alma Martinez for the first alternate, Christopher Fletcher for the second alternate. Is there a second?
Second that motion.
Second from Commissioner Kerr. Is there any further discussion?
I'd just like to add that 2 good resumes once again. Lots of experience on these. Alma is on, I can't tell you how many different realtor associations, so 2 fantastic resumes on both of them.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Okay, motion carries 5-0. Madam Clerk, anything further?
Is my report.
Okay. Well, again, thank you to everybody that was appointed and for everybody's interest in being part of our boards. We have a lot more opportunities coming up. Encourage people to get involved in that. And I'll turn it over to you, Commissioner Mathis.
At this time, I have no report, sir.
Commissioner Kern. Commissioner Haney.
First of all, good evening, everyone, and just a quick note. Last week, I had the opportunity to tour our local Boys and Girls Club here at Plant City. It was a great opportunity to see what some of our kids are doing during the summer and to see how that program operates. And I just want to give a thank you to Board Member Hart Wood for extending that invitation. It was a great opportunity to go out and see a little bit of practice with that. And with that, that is my report.
Thank you, Commissioner. Vice Mayor? No report. And in the interest of time, I have no report, so we'll move on to the next item.
That is the public hearings. Consideration of, legislative public hearing on ordinance entitled an ordinance of the city of Plant City, Florida regarding boundaries considering annexing certain real property competition to the owner thereof and redefining the boundary lines of the city of Plant City in section 3-1 Plant City Code in accordance with chapter 1714 statutes, providing for several buildings, providing for effective date.
Good evening, Commissioners, Mayor, and Vice Mayor. The request before you this evening is for an annexation for the properties located at 103 and 107 Johnson Road. The annexation request consists of 2 parcels to be annexed, located at the southeast corner of Johnson Road and James L. Redmond Parkway. Approximate acreage of this site is 2.19 acres. On the application that was submitted for the annexation, the purpose of the annexation was listed as future planning or future development. Though the applicant did not submit a rezoning and land use amendment at this time, it will be required at a future date, and because of its location along James L. Redmond, it will be required to be part of the Gateway District and ultimately a planned development rezoning application. Based on staff's review, the application does meet the annexation requirements of Chapter 171 of the Florida statutes. We received no objection from Plant City departments or outside agencies. On April 22nd, 2026, the Planning Board recommended to forward the annexation request to the City Commission with a recommendation of approval. So the recommendation this evening is that the City Commission find the annexation request consistent with Chapter 171 of the Florida statutes and for the annexation to be approved. Stand for any questions you have.
Any questions or comments from Ms. Baker?
Thank you.
The applicant would like to address the commission at this time. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is a public hearing. Would anybody like to address the commission on this matter at this time? This is a legislative public hearing on this annexation.
Seeing none, public hearing is closed. What's the pleasure of the commission?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
just to note that I'll abstain from this discussion and vote as the current property owner, First Baptist Church of Plant City, is a pipeline property.
Thank you, Mr. Commissioner Amy. I think it kind of rounds out the roadway there, and kind of brings it into the city, so it's an appropriate annexation in my opinion. So I will be supporting it, but I do need a motion. We have a motion from Commissioner Kerr, a second from Commissioner Mathis. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, please place your votes. Passes 4-0 with one abstention. Ladies and gentlemen, that was a quick city commission meeting. I'm going to adjourn that, and I'm going to go very quickly into our Community Redevelopment Agency meeting. I'm going to call back to order. And this is the CRA meeting. So this is the CRA board representing that agency. And I'm going to ask for any public comment. And so everybody's clear this evening on the agenda as we're talking about 3 proposals from our Midtown. So does anybody have any public comment as it relates to that before we move into the proposal presentations? This is a time for public comment to the CRA. Okay, seeing none, we're going to go right into the presentations. Before we do that, I just want to thank,
Move on to CRA.
that was further on in the agenda, but let's go ahead and do that, get it out of the way.
Change that.
What's the pleasure of the CRA for approving the minutes? I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Oh, is that no?
We have a motion from Board Member Jones, a second from Board Member Mathis. Please place your votes. Passes 5-0. So before we start with the presentations, we put them in alphabetical order based on, the folks that have participated here. I just want to thank everybody that's interested in investing in Plant City. This Midtown project is a project that has been worked on long before I was on the commission. I appreciate some of the folks that are in this room that had something to do with getting this started a long time ago. It's important that we use a tool like the CRA to be able to make the investment in some areas that need some attention, to do some brownfield cleanup, to put it together in areas that developers aren't going to do, and to make an impact, on our community, and to try to be thoughtful about how we can connect that to downtown and make that a legacy project for generations to come. We've been at this for a while. We've had some folks that have come to the table as have worked in the past, but we're not going to stop because we know how important this project is to our community. So I'm excited tonight that we have an opportunity to revisit it again. But before, we ask the first, proposer to come up, I'm going to turn it over to our city manager and just ask you, sir, to give us a little bit more of a timeline and background on kind of how we got to this point and what the discussion looks like this evening, sir.
Thank you. So the commission will recall that after the last attempt at a Midtown development agreement, I was tasked to come back to the commission and talk about development options that we might have to move forward. And in that presentation, I outlined a number of different options that could be pursued. I talked about selling the property in mass. I talked about selling it out lot by lot. I talked about development strategies that would encompass either of those, a full development of the entire CRA city-owned parcels, individually selling all of those parcels for development one lot at a time. And one of the options that I talked about was basically entertaining unsolicited offers, not going through an RFP process as we had done in the past. And the commission saw fit that night to give me a window of opportunity to pursue that alternative path. And that's exactly what we have done. There were parties that were interested in Midtown that this particular approach, I think, is more appealing to them. So We put the word out that we were open to such conversations. And as a result of that, over a period of months, we ended up with 3 formal proposals, letters of interest, submitted by the development groups that are here with us tonight. All 3 of them have put a great deal of thought and attention into the proposals that they are going to bring forward to you tonight. And I think that you're going to be impressed not only by the quality and the depth of these proposals, but also the variety that they represent. You have 2 that are multi-family, more traditional. You have 1 that is more focused on single family. But each one of them offers a slightly different view or vision for Midtown. And all 3 of them propose to develop the entire holdings of the CRA/city in Midtown. So we are looking at an opportunity here to see the entire South Downtown or Midtown area developed in a very positive way. I want to echo your thoughts, Mr. Mayor. I have to say thank you to all 3 groups. They have been an absolute pleasure to work with. Everyone has been exceedingly professional, but what I really appreciate the most is their absolute interest and passion for the opportunity that Midtown and Plant City represents, not only for them to build a great project, but for these projects to make a very positive difference within our community. I very much enjoyed getting to know these groups and their representatives, and particularly have enjoyed going through their proposals, their visions for Plant City. So I am looking forward tonight to hearing what they have to say to you as we move forward and hopefully reach a decision tonight on moving forward on one of these proposals. I can address any questions that the commission has on the CRA board up to this point.
Any questions or comments for our CRA director before we move into the presentations? All right, let's get on with the show. First up is Red Development. Good evening and welcome.
Hi, first off, commissioners, city manager, mayor, thank you so much for having us. I'm Dilo Baker with the R8 Group. We are the development arm of the Patel Family Office. I'm also joined here by Wayne Dunkelberger. He is with Baker Barrios, and he worked on all the architectural renderings and drawings. Great stuff. Very nice. Without further ado, just jumping into this, whenever we look at a development, I like to understand exactly what is the city, the town, the people that we're looking at, because this is a partnership, regardless, between the city and the developer to make sure we're actually developing what you would like to see for your town. I think this is an incredible area. I grew up in a town of 50,000 people. I look around here and it reminds me of being an Owen. So this resonates with me personally, where I see a lot of potential in this. How do I get to the next? Okay. Perfect. Thank you. So looking at this, we look at Plant City. Overall, the demographic is a little older than Tampa, a little younger than Lakeland, where the median age is about 39 years old. Population has grown pretty consistently. But something I want to look at is just the map along this right side. In purple, you can see the Midtown development, and a few factors that we're going to look at in the way we designed the area was what do we need to put in to make Midtown very successful? And we need more housing. We need a grocery store. We need healthcare. We need retail space. And the idea is cultivating a space where it's live, work, play. And that's exactly what you can do when you have 17 acres to develop in a master community. So it's very special. And then when we look at how do we forge a partnership with the city, we really want to be considerate of the goals you have. And the plan for 2040 is it's increasing the population, having more jobs, increasing households. So how do you get more people to an exciting area is go bring exciting things right outside your front door. Let's bring retail right below a multifamily, where if you're at the Southern Baptist Hospital and you just begin working there, instead of living in Lakeland or Tampa, come to Plant City, live here, and walk outside your front door and have exciting retail of restaurants, breweries. You can have your dentist, you can have your health professional, all in one community, and maybe even a dog park right across the street so you can walk your dog. So as we kind of look at this partnership, this is something we want to work together on. You have our LOI with you. You know, the idea is we want to work together with you where we can develop a really outstanding master development where we can attract people to the area, whether they live here now or whether they come in for whether it's the Strawberry Festival or we're able to host farmers markets in the Midtown area. But this area has such a unique fabric that can be moved down and modernized to where we can really attract people who haven't even yet seen this area yet. And to do this, we're looking at bringing in about 415 units of housing. We're looking at adding about 52,000 of retail space. And then we want to add to the greenery, right? We already have that Evers Park there. We want to add the dog park, additional green area. Make it very vibrant, where it's a place to walk, a place to enjoy. And the way we want to do this is we're a strong sponsor. We have the ability to go sign on debt. We have the ability to go make it an outstanding product. I'll get into some of our featured products before, that we've completed prior. But we want to work together with you to be able to get CRA funds, to be able to look at TIF bond financing. So how can we go get additional funds to make this a successful and prosperous first vote? So here's the site plans in front of you here. This is what I'm saying when we're looking at bringing together about 415 different residential units. That's going to be spread across townhouses, multifamily, and senior living. It'll be spread across 2 different phases. Everything just about north of Alabama is going to be in phase 1. The idea of this is we want to have solid absorption, where when we attract people to the Midtown development, we can fully lease that out, such as the retail space and the multifamily. And as it creates more buzz and we're able to bring in farmers markets and different vendors and make the community what we know it can be, we're going to be able to move on to phase 2. If we go too quickly all at once, it's going to bring too much supply online, where we may run into issues where we're not able to create the buzz as we all like. So if we look at it, everything you see here if we look at the, if we're looking at parcel E is going to be your initial multifamily. So that's going to be a 4-story building where you're going to have multifamily on floors 2 through 4, and you're going to have retail on the bottom floor. Parcel C, that's going to be all retail space. You can imagine having a restaurant on that corner, maybe a coffee shop. Parcels A and B, those are both going to be retail as well, with parking in the rear. And the idea there is we can bring in either a medical facility. We've done a lot of work with Advent Health and Daycare, where that could be a nice micro office where you could take up 20,000 square feet to have your doctor right outside your front door. But the idea is that everything around that Evers Park is so special. Make it where you can walk all around it. You can have events there. Everything will be very ingrained. And if we look at the next slide here, we're really looking at that phasing. So everything north of Alabama will be in phase 1, with the exception of what you can see in parcel G, which is the grocery store. I think a grocery store is very it's very necessary if you're in a community where you live and you walk and you want to be able to not go to car, or, you know, it makes it very simple. We've had experience building grocery stores before, and we thought this was a very integral part of the community. So I'm going to pass it off there to Wayne to talk about how we actually think of the development, the actual strategy and execution.
Thanks, Diva. Diva's walked you through what gets it built and when. I'd like to take a few minutes to walk you through about the shape. And the shape is one of those things that stands the test of time. As you can see in the screen, on the top of the screen in red is the downtown Plant City, the historic part where we have the rail station and the museum. But what we're focused on is really how this Midtown connects to that. The way we look at it is that what makes the site unique is that it isn't an isolated project. It's not on the edge of town, but it's really connected to downtown. And really the goal, the idea is how do we get that connection to work? What makes this site unique is that it isn't an isolated project. Everything begins with Everett Street. Everett Street, when we started to look at this plan, Everett Street is really the organizing spine of the plan. It's actually in the center of the yellow with the red spots on both sides, retail on both sides. The other street that we looked at, which is also important, is South Collins. But that street is really a pass-through street that connects the south to the north. What we really want to do is optimize Evers. Evers is really the front door, the porch of what we believe is the heart of this Midtown development. To the arrows, the blue arrows that you see, those are really streets that go east and west, and they start to connect the neighborhoods. And really, for this to be vibrant, for this to work, those streets, the ones that go east and west that connect other neighborhoods, is super important to the growth of both projects. In addition to that, the two ends of the site are naturally the anchors. And as Dilo had mentioned, the north anchor, because it's so close to downtown, really favors the idea of retail, of a denser development of retail markets. But on the south end, where it's closer to the neighborhood, that density starts to mimic the neighborhoods that are around it. And so really the south end becomes the gateway from the neighborhoods, and the north becomes the gateway from the downtown environment. After we took a look at this, 17 acres and a single public ownership immediately adjacent to a historic downtown is an incredibly rare opportunity. The question isn't what can we fit on the 17 acres? The question is, what does downtown Plant City need next? And that's what we've been studying the last few months on this plan. So what I'd like to do is direct you to the next page. It was pretty interesting to figure this out. So the thinking led us to 3 simple design moves. The first move on the first slide, the far left of the screen, is really, the move is to fit into the existing fabric. The downtown is at the north, the neighbors continue to the south. Rather than creating a separate development, the plan stitches those together. And so the street grid continues from downtown through the development, through the design. The block sizes feel familiar. The buildings front the streets instead of parking lots. And most importantly, this is a residential neighborhood first. And that's intentional. Retail succeeds because people already live there, not the other way around. On the second move, give every student a job. And this is really important in placemaking, is that you have to understand the streets and networks and how they work to actually develop a good sense of place. So Everett Street becomes the public main street, the place you walk with a cup of coffee, maybe go to dinner, or you just hang out there because it's a nice place to be. And it's really important for the development. The neighborhood streets, which are the ones that are horizontal in the lighter colors, those are really the quiet and slower streets. On-street parking, street trees, they're the ones that home space and the sidewalks become active. And then east-west connection to Midtown back into the surrounding community instead of creating barriers. The public spaces is where the real value spreads. When the streets are comfortable, inviting, private investments naturally follow. And then the third move is give people choices. And this one's really important when you start to look at a development of 17 acres. The third move is to create diverse neighborhoods. Instead of repeating one building type over and over, we introduced apartments, townhomes, senior living, neighborhood retail, and flexible commercial spaces. Different housing serves different people at different stages of their lives. And so along those edges, the buildings step down in scale to respect the existing neighborhoods. And from a market perspective, as Dilo had mentioned, it also allows different products to come online over time, creating a healthier absorption and as the projects grow. So in the end, the strategy is really three ideas. Fit into the city, give every street purpose, give people choices about how they live. And those were the three slides that we just talked about. So that leads into probably my favorite slide, probably the most interesting part, is the Everett Street vision. Everett Street is, everything we talked about comes together in this drawing. This is what it feels like to stand on Everett Street. The right-of-way is 68 feet wide. And so the question isn't whether 68 feet is enough. The question is how we choose to spend those 68 feet. And this is really important. So the first 8 feet is sidewalk, there's 7 feet of plantings, and then there's an 8 feet of on-street parking, and then 2 11-foot wide roads. And then the whole entire street row mirrors to the other side. Here's the number that matters. 30 of those 68 feet are dedicated to people and trees. And when you have a street like that, people will want to come, they will want to shop, they will want to live, and they will bring and visit often. And so nearly half the street is an activated street. And it's intentional that the roads are 11 feet instead of 12. 11-foot roads actually slow traffic down, and the on-street parking actually enforces that speed. So it makes it feel safe for people to come and visit. And this is really important for what we're striving to achieve with the retail on the first floor, and then the residential on floors 2, 3, and 4. And so it's really important that all of those are activated by the row. The other thing is that, in addition to that, what we've done is we haven't imitated downtown. What we've done is we've taken cues from downtown. So we've brought the big brick fascia, the canopies, the insets for the doors. We have activated retail glass and storefront because that is what the city of Plant City has and has historically held. And so what we're doing is we're bringing that and merging that into Midtown. So if we're successful, in 10 years, you will not know where downtown and Midtown meet. They will feel like one continuous development.
I'll take back over. I think all of this gets done really with a strong sponsor. The Patel Family Office is one of the biggest family offices in the state of Florida. And we've done over $1.5 billion in actual development. We own $3 billion in real estate alone, diversified real estate across the U.S. Our goal is we want to invest back into our local community. Of that $3 billion, about 80% of it is here in the Tampa Bay area. And we look at an opportunity like this, and it's very unique, where we have the ability to help inform this partnership, to look at making this a special project, and we have Dr. K's backing to be able to make something like this happen. If you're not familiar with Dr. K, he is a philanthropist, a cardiologist, business owner, and he's turned real estate developer in the last 20 years. So he's essentially done it all, as I like to say, and made most of his money within the medical and insurance space. And then we're surrounded by an awesome team, the R8 Group. This is, again, the development arm of the Patel Family Office. I couldn't list everybody on here, but there's about 40 people within this organization that all do a tremendous job of making sure we have attention and focus on everything we do down to the smallest detail. And some of the projects we've worked on, this is just a few to name. The one I'm really going to call out here is the Harrison. This is really I think a very close example of live, work, play. And it's the same idea that we're trying to cultivate in the Midtown development. This is a 20-story building in downtown Tampa. it features roughly 300 multifamily apartments, 40,000 square foot of office space on the 7th floor, and then a grocery store on the bottom. And within that 40,000 square foot of office space on that 7th floor, half of it is actually taken up by Tampa Family Health. So you have your medical facility right there in your building. It is a place almost where you don't ever need to leave your building, which is a very unique thing to find. And that's sort of the idea we want to cultivate. And then, last I'll say it's going to take a year for architectural design. Then permitting is going to take as long as it will take. I'm not sure, exactly how it works in your city, or if there's ways to expedite it. And then the actual construction development of phase one will take about 1.5 to 2 years. So I would say in total, it's going to be, call it 3 years from start to finish of being, awarded a project to actually having it completed for phase one. And entering into phase two, and as we're looking at the second multifamily, the townhouses, we have the senior living over in parcel J, the expectation is it would be on a similar timeline. But we don't know as far as the space between, because we want to make sure that the initial multifamily is successful and it's absorbed, which it will be at a phase, but we don't want to rush it and bring too much supply online and put phase two in jeopardy. The goal of phase one is to make phase two look really good.
Any other questions? Have you spent much time at all looking at any of our brownfield cleanup EPA studies to this point? Are you comfortable with that? Any questions to that point? Are you waiting for the development agreement to do the due diligence on that?
We're going to do more due diligence once we get to the development agreement. We've worked with Bill a good amount. He sent us over all the documents. We feel pretty comfortable with it at this point.
Okay, so same questions on stormwater, parking, streets, all that stuff. What additional work do you need to do before you get comfortable with that?
Yeah, overall, we did do a little bit more due diligence on the stormwater and the utility hookup to see exactly what would need to be spent at that point. But it seems like there's already a substantial amount in place. So we just have to make sure that it handles the load of the amount of retail and multifamilies that we'll be doing.
So did hear you mention something about a grocery store, so you feel like there's enough, I guess, density, traffic, whatever the case may be, to support that in that particular area?
I think so. We're not looking to do a massive grocery store. We're looking at about 13,000 to 18,000 square foot grocery store. So it won't be a mega grocery store.
What consideration have you made to what the retail is already in downtown and how this might complement that versus cannibalize it?
I think, I think when we think of the initial retail, there's already great retail spaces here. And